Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to Remember Rocko's Modern Life. Do y'all remember Rocko's Modern Life? Rocko's Modern Life. Rocko's Modern Life. Yeah, that was an underrated Nickelodeon show back in the day. Without further ado, let's check it out, though.
Wait, remember Rocko's Modern Life? It was a Nickelodeon cartoon that featured a wallaby, a steer, a turtle, and a really, really big man. Yeah, it'll make more sense soon if you've never seen it. This show was pretty important for its role in the slate of classic Nicktoons in the 90s. While it itself fits in, it always felt like the tone of the comedy was firing on different cylinders from the other neighboring cartoons. Sure, there was still slapstick and more common funny ha-has, but it was all about the delivery of our main cast and how they said their lines, as well as why the show just hits different as these characters. They're so different and unique and truly helped make what this show was. So I figured we'd take a look at this show as it became a launching pad for so many things. Let's dig into Rocko's Modern Life.
Fine, whatever. Go ahead.
Welcome back to the 25 Days of Fringeness, where there's going to be brand new videos every single day from December 1st to December 25th. Hop aboard. Rocko's Modern Life is about an immigrant wallaby named Rocko, voiced by Carlos Alazraqui. Life is anything but normal. I don't even think modern quite describes it either. Him and his dog Spunky deal with their life of weird friends, annoying neighbors, and a bunch of odd situations that they find themselves in. Why is he a wallaby? Well, the creator of the show, Joe Murray, was just looking at one on a trip to the zoo and noticed its nature. Being on its own, not looking for anything from anyone, just wanting to mind its own business, while all of the other animals were yelling and screaming, looking for some sort of attention. This idea manifested in the main character of the show, Rocko, being this central vessel into the weirdness of everything and everyone else. He isn't too special, but he also isn't boring. But because of that, it allows the world around him to shine. That's why the creator took notice and liked this wallaby so much while at the zoo. And that's why the show truly has a great focus on the things, places, and people around Rocko, with some episodes not even featuring him at all. When we need family drama, we have Heifer. When we need marital problems, we have the neighbors. When we need literally anything, there is always a character to fit that story, as Rocko, well, he's just Rocko, mostly trying to mind his own business. A lot of the things Rocko gets into are because of his friends and his neighbors. But first, let's talk about Heifer the steer, voiced by Tom Kenny. He's the comic relief, not super smart, heavyset friend who may love food most over anything in the world. While he himself doesn't truly change much from when we first meet him, despite the multiple things he has to go through throughout the series, we do get some pretty interesting family dynamics from him, where his family are literally all wolves, and how his relationship as someone in his mid-20s deals with the pressures of his family. There is also Filbert, voiced by Mr. Lawrence, who is a turtle that can only be described as mostly cowardly towards anything all around all the time. He's extremely cautious, germophobic, and is not one for great excitement. His character probably has the most character-changing dynamics throughout the series, as most of his staple traits stay true. He does eventually have a romantic arc with another character, Dr. Paula, voiced by Linda Wallum, who is a jack-of-all-trades in the doctor field, from pharmacist to surgeon to dentist. She's a cat with a hook for a hand, and the reason why is actually pretty interesting itself. Murray was asked to add in a quote-unquote professional woman, someone with a good hook, and he took that all too literally, creating a character that holds a bunch of professional jobs and has a hook for one of her hands. And all of them ended up really liking the character they came up with. Of course, you also have the Big Heads, Rocko's neighbors. Ed Big Head, voiced by Charlie Adler, who is a toad, is an easy-to-anger working man who has enough to deal with his regular day-to-day life that anything involving Rocko and his friends just helps heat those things up to a boiling point. He's just a curmudgeon who sometimes, very rarely, finds peace, but everything usually comes crashing down around him to ruin that. His wife, Beth Bighead, also voiced by Charlie Adler, and who is also a toad, she's pretty chummy with Rocko and has the fair amount of awkward tension-building moments with him while constantly having relationship struggles with Ed. She serves up a lot of the comedic and downright pretty line-pushing moments throughout the series, and is one of my favorite characters. Oh, you know I have to give some love to Really, Really Big Man, who has the signature power as a superhero to have others gaze into his nipples of the future. Yeah, see, I told you we'd mention that Really, Really Big Man. And his pectoral powers, you're welcome.
At least I'll have my dignity.
Rocko will be right back. He just realized he isn't wearing pants. Are you ready for more Rocko? You better be.
Rocko's Modern Life premiered on Nickelodeon on September 18, 1993, and ran for a total of 4 seasons. The character of Rocko originated from the creator of the show, Joe Murray's comic titled Travis, which was Rocko's original name. He tried pitching it around in the 1980s, but unfortunately it remained unpublished. He would later be looking for some funding specifically for his independent film titled My Dog Zero, sitting down with Nickelodeon to strike a deal with them to pre-purchase the TV right, giving them exclusivity to show it on their network, and it would give him the money up front to make it a reality. Nickelodeon would end up liking Murray's style and wanted to purchase it and finance it, but in the interest of turning it into a series. Linda Semensky, who at the time was the head of animation development at Nickelodeon, gave him a call to kind of go over the concept of what a Nicktoon was, as at the time the original 3 Nicktoons had not been finished and released on their network. She explained that their cartoons were different, as Murray didn't really have too much of an interest in cartoon TV shows, mainly based on what was on TV at that time. He knew that his concept for My Dog Zero wouldn't really fit the mold of a cartoon TV show, but told Linda that he would think on something else possibly. Spending his time after that researching all he could about Nickelodeon, and started to notice that their attitude towards their programming wasn't like other networks at the time. This caught his attention more than anything, and went looking back at his sketches and ideas from the past and would start formulating an idea that he would want to see, not something he thought the network would want to see. But after coming up with this weird and different idea and submitting it, months had gone by with no word from the network, until Linda finally reached back out saying they wanted to move forward with a pilot, which caught him by surprise. While creating the pilot, it was becoming clearer and clearer to him that there was no way the execs at Nick would be into this. It was too weird, it was too gross, too everything that a network probably wouldn't want in a cartoon. But despite all that, the pilot went over really well. The only thing they ended up not liking was Heifer, claiming he was just a bit too weird. So rather than just remove him, he went and made a different pilot to present to them, and once again, surprise, they wanted to officially greenlight the pilot into a full series. Of course though, so many complications presented themselves throughout the process of developing everything. Rocko was originally going to be yellow instead of the beige color he is now, and the title of the show at this point was The Rocko Show. Murray, while excited he's making an actual show, still had plenty reserves about doing it, knowing his passions aren't particularly in this field, thinking that this would be a one-season type of deal, but by December of 1993, after the series had begun airing, the show was renewed for another season, and then another one after that. But by the time season 4 was ordered, Murray felt that his time there was done, passing the production to Stephen Hillenburg. Yes, that's Stephen Hillenburg. I will touch back on this in just a bit. While Murray would still oversee a lot of the show, he was always one foot out the door, and by the end of that season, he was done, but he did tell Nick that it would be great if he wanted to keep with it, seeing the show go beyond him. Unfortunately, they ended up canceling the series. It was bittersweet, as he truly believes in all 52 episodes made being of top-notch quality, but he also knew how difficult it was to make that much in such a short amount of time, as well as dealing with some awful personal life stuff at the same time very early on into the production, and putting other goals on the back burner. But what made Rocko's Modern Life even more special was everything that came from it, really being this melting pot of incredible people and great talent just starting their careers. I mentioned moments ago that Stephen Hillenburg was part of the process for making this show a reality, eventually taking charge for its final season. I have a video that goes a bit more in depth from the perspective of Hillenburg coming out later this month, but on this production is where he was making the connections and building the ideas for what would become SpongeBob SquarePants. Both Tom Kenny and Mr. Lawrence were working their first voice roles for Rocko, and hit things off well with Hillenburg, playing a huge part in developing certain characters that would go on to be SpongeBob for Tom Kenny and then Plankton for Mr. Lawrence. These connections made here were crucial in the early development for SpongeBob. In addition to that, both Tom Kenny and Carlos Alazraqui would also both end up voicing Spyro the Dragon, with Carlos voicing him in the first game and Tom Kenny doing the voice for the second and third for the original trilogy, and has went on to voice him in a couple other iterations, including the Reignited Trilogy remakes. But also several other well-known shows and people who worked on those shows all stem from Rocko's Modern Life as well. While Joe may not have always wanted to get into this field, the workplace he was able to curate with the people involved turned into the catalyst of so many great ventures beyond it. Thanks to this show, Rocko's Modern Life, something as crazy as SpongeBob never being the way that it is, or a thing at all, may not have been possible without it. And I think something that Murray can take away from all this is that his creative endeavors helped facilitate other future endeavors, which is pretty amazing and something that he should be proud of. He would eventually come back to the world of animation with his show Camp Lazlo, and in the end of that series we get a cheeky little surprise visit from Heifer. I made a video all about that if you want to learn more, but beyond this, he would eventually be brought back into the world of Rocko thanks to Nickelodeon's interest in some of their legacy media and wanting to develop a few movie continuations that would premiere on Netflix. One of them being Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling, which would come out in 2019. It was a 45-minute special rather than a movie, but it truly felt that everything that made the original series special was still here. It was a solid, fun adventure bringing the show into modern times. And gotta make sure the branding stays accurate, right? It would be more of what made Rocko's Modern Life so good, and for fans of the original show, it brought this sense of nostalgia in just the fact that over 2 decades later, this show was still as good as you remember. These characters are just as fun as you remember. Truly, it was a treat to even get something like this made.
Rocko's not going away, so neither should you.
It's that twisted tune, Rocko's Modern Life, on the channel that's home of the Nicktoons, Nickelodeon.
Personally, I love Rocko's Modern Life. It was this show all about the daily random struggles and over-exaggeration of the adult things that as a kid I couldn't relate to, but the more I got older, the more I appreciated how this cartoon was structured for both young watchers and adults. I'm watching a wallaby deal with jobs or try to get groceries, and yet I'm invested in the ridiculousness crafted in the normal. Rocko's Modern Life is a great look into society that captures the truisms of the time it came out in, and you can even apply a lot of that to today as well. It's a satirical look into everyday struggles and dealing with the fact that we live in a consumerist culture, adding on to the constant nudging of trying to get you to conform to societal expectations. It's an adult show that was made from the experiences and moments from the people creating it, always adding a bit of themselves into the show. The DNA of the show and what makes it special is that it truly is a modern life from a base premise. You and I can relate to a lot of these everyday things. The show just emphasizes how we can view a lot of these moments in an over-the-top way and through the eyes of animal-based characters. Because of that, no matter if I was watching this as a kid or now watching as an adult, I can relate, or at the bare minimum, understand these characters, their actions, where they're coming from, and how they can view the world. I find it pretty special that there are 2 ways to view this show. It was made this way on purpose thanks to Murray's want to not make a show under the guise of trying to make a kid's show, but something he would want to see. What are his frustrations? What are his views on the world? And through that, made Rocko's Modern Life a very special experience. While it may not have been my favorite show as a kid, the appreciation for it that I have now has definitely shifted where I hold this cartoon in my personal rankings. But the other side of making a cartoon that can also be this adult is just that. Too adult. The show faced a number of censorship moments that led to plenty being changed, altered, and cut altogether. I mean, when your audience has a large enough fraction that are adults during its original run, it makes sense based on the amount of innuendos and moments that are definitely not the most brand safe for Nickelodeon, despite how edgy they claim to be in the 90s. There's an episode of the show that was completely removed after airing and not shown again on the Nickelodeon main channel, as there were a lot of complaints from parents coming in regarding some risque humor in the episode Leap Frog. But the phone operator episode was completely fine. It could be small things in some episodes that needed to be altered or changed, while other things seemed completely okay. The show already had a good portion of its humor coming from some pretty impressive animation-wise gross-out humor that usually stems from body parts getting harmed or eyes popping out of their socket, and it all, for the most part, was allowed through, no problem. Which honestly makes sense because Ren and Stimpy was on the air at the same time, and I think that show goes way more out of its way to truly gross out the audience. Yeah. Scenes like one featuring a no-tell motel and one featuring mistaking berries for a bear's berries would be clipped out of episodes, with the no-tell motel one implying a lot of intimate situations between Rocko and Heifer, and the other is self-explanatory for the berries. There were minor cuts here and there to various episodes down to stuff like 10 seconds of footage being clipped out, but also things in the world of Rocko were changed as well, like the name of the main fast food establishment going from the Choky Chicken to the Chewy Chicken. Both Both sound just awful to eat at. But sometimes, because of the limits of what they could or couldn't do, we get stuff like one of my favorite episodes where Heifer essentially dies, spending time reflecting on his life with the Grim Reaper, and the whole joke being that they can't say
Sensors.
See? Just like that, playing into having to call this place that they are in as heck. It's my favorite little bit, but you can tell that even when facing censorship issues, it was taken in stride and something to make jokes about. While we may not see more of Rocko, it was still nice to get the Static Cling movie a few years back. And hey, Rocko has been featured as DLC for both of the video games Smite and Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, which was really cool to see more of this wallaby having anything but a modern life.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Moving a little too fast there, ain't we? Alrighty, so yeah, that's just gonna about do it for this one, man. Yeah, Rocko's Modern Life is very underrated, bro. Very criminally underrated. I didn't even know that they had a Netflix special for it. I never knew that. I never knew that. I never knew that they did a Netflix special for Rocko's Modern Life. I'm gonna have to check that out. But yeah, man, Rocko's Modern Life is very underrated. I liked the show a lot. I liked it. It was a funny show. It was a funny show for me as a kid. Was it fucking with Rugrats? No. Was it fucking with Doug? No. Was it fucking with anything on Cartoon Network or on the Saturday morning cartoons? No. But it was still a good show. It was something I could actually sit down and watch. And it was just very entertaining. And plus, as the older I got, the more I realized I relate to Rocko so much. But yeah, man, that's just gonna about do it for this one. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. I'll get back to you today. Peace out.